same time, we've gone through a whole series of design charrettes, taking comment, and again, changing the design repeatedly to comment both community comments and in response to teacher and student comments. We've also worked with the students as well to make sure that that they understand the changes and to be able to respond. So thank you. I'd very much like the district to take Mr. Christopher up on his offer to work with us on addressing bird mitigation. We have a double-edged sword when it comes to migratory birds. On one hand, we appreciate their being part of our community. On the other hand, we do have a bit of a toxics problem with the amount of particular Canadian goose manure that has made it sometimes almost impossible to use the football field because the thickness of manure coating the field. Some kids just won't play on the field. So I think part of switching the design is a health issue for the kids and trying to address that. And to the extent that we continue to have problems of finding mutual ways for both natural habitat and humans to cohabitate in a healthy way, we'd love your expertise and appreciate your offer. I would like, I do have some questions about the light visors. There was a series of questions about my understanding of the answers that were given, and the questions is that the light on the field shall be mitigated in a way that the light stays on the field, and that we have adequate light for safe play. Is that correct?
You want to come up to
please come up to the mic.
Oh, I should also say, we also have Mark Sieberlich here, who's one of the architect, who is also knows a lot more about the whole lighting part of the project than I do, certainly, from a technical perspective. So in terms of the studies that were done and are included in the appendices to the ISMND, it does look like there would be a very small amount of spillover light that could occur with all of the technical fixes that we could put into place, which would be the front visors and the back visors, and also then directing the lights and changing the position of the poles, etc. So just in terms of the modeling that was done about that, the amount of light that needs to occur for safe play, it does look like there's a small amount of spillover light that would be that would occur.
And I'll just jump in and say, the district and the architect team went through a lot of rounds of revisions, relocating poles, really trying to make sure there was adequate light on the field and reducing the amount of spillover light to as much as possible.
Where would it spill over?
It shows
North.
in the diagrams in the back of the
53rd Street.
So it would spill over
North.
across the street.
53rd.
Yes.
And have we looked at to the trees? One of the things that's helped restore the light with our neighbors at Emery Bay is the tall trees. Have we looked at the ability to increase the benefit to the community by adding additional trees that could help to?
There are very beautiful tall redwood trees that are along the western side, and that will certainly stop, I suspect, like any spillover light going to the west. It is the other side that we're concerned about. And I think Mark had something to say.
Well, yeah, Mark started with this one. With one of the Nexus architects, DSK. The light modeling took into account a bunch of different things, including the redwood tree line along property line that also took into account some consideration for what is the current ambient light situation. And our belief is that the light that we'll be providing will not exceed the light that already exists in the area. So that was part of what we were trying to accomplish, is to, several things that are critical. One is safe play, and the other is to minimize light across the property line. The third is the minimum night sky. And so sort of trying to keep all of those things in balance. The tools that we have is the location of the poles, the height of the poles, and in fact, the higher the pole, the easier it is to accomplish, because we can direct the light downward as opposed to outward. So the direction of the lights, so that, like if you go to any one pole, all of the lights don't go in one direction. They point in several different directions to balance the light to even. And then the shading devices, both on top and behind, to sort of further articulate the direction of the amount of light in each direction. So anyway, just a little bit of background on where we're at.
So I guess my understanding from the presentation is you're saying the amount of spillover is not significant in relation to the current levels.
Yes, that was what we determined. And in response to the first comment that was in regards to this particular question, in terms of the question about why do you say, why does the ISM&D identify that the district will do what is the maximum feasible in terms of the safe play issue and then the lighting issue, is in part that when they install the lights, there's a very good chance that in fact the condition will be that it doesn't increase the light on adjacent properties beyond what is already there. So there would be no spillover light. But at this point, in terms of the modeling and projections that the lighting consultant has run, it looks like there's this very slight decrease increment, that there could be some spillover light on adjacent properties. It's very slight, but that is what the modeling does show. But we determined through the analysis that's in the ISM&D that that is not a significant adverse effect.
And then I wanted to get a clarification from Charlie on this whole question, and it might also be the architect, this whole question of the general plan and its relationship to the name deck. Because it's my understanding that we are not including the activities under the plan. It's also my understanding that although there's measurements for dimensions for different possible activities under the plan, it's a plan and it's not a design imposed on the school district. So I'm trying to understand that relationship and that set of comments, if you could shed a little light on that.
Charlie Bryan, Planning and Building Director of the City of Emeryville. Well, I think it's important to remember, I believe Judy said this, that in a CEQA environmental document, inconsistency with a city plan is not necessarily an environmental impact. It's only if there is a physical impact that results from that you have an impact that needs to be mitigated. So your charge tonight is not to make a determination as to whether or not this project is consistent with the general plan. Your charge is to determine whether the ISM&D adequately identifies the environmental impacts that will result from the project and whether all the mitigation measures that have been identified are adequate to mitigate those impacts. The Planning Commission of the City of Emeryville, on the other hand, when they are called upon to approve this project next Thursday, July 25th, they will have to make a finding that the project is consistent with the general plan. And we anticipate that they will do so. But you're not required to make that finding tonight. That's up to the Planning Commission when they approve the project next week.
That's a very helpful clarification. I appreciate that.
just real quick, while you're on that point, related to the lighting and the comment about whether it's more or less than what currently exists in terms of the lighting, and also as it relates to the comment about, or the statement about in terms of the using the city-sponsored events through, I think it was, and so, the lighting, is it more, I'm just curious in terms of the lighting, it's not more than what's there, or you said there's an increment of what the more or spillover than what's currently there, so are we talking about 10 o'clock lights go off and, that spillover is no more, or how does that?
Yeah, maybe a couple of issues there. The light spillover, the idea is that there is no increase in light spillover. What is there now is what we want to maintain. That's our. The other issue about timing, which that's when 10 o'clock comes along, the lights go out. They're off. That's what this be.
So I just wanted to compare, because I live around the corner, so I know I've gone on that street and it's pitch. You can barely, I mean, you really cannot really see. It doesn't have the most visibility during the evening. So I was just curious what that looks like to read.
At the risk of adding more information than being asked, I mean, there are light levels that are designed into the system, so you can set it at different levels for different uses, and you ratchet it down for cleanup, so you're not running it to sort of optimum light competition. So we're doing everything we can to minimize the effect over time.
You basically have a dimmer on the lights.
That's an oversimplification of a big dimmer, yes.
And just to give you some, I mean, it's hard for, I mean, because normally people don't think of foot candles, which is the light of the past. Just to give you some sort of reference,